The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up to the mountain to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep, but becoming fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. As they were about to part from him, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But he did not know what he was saying. While he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them, and they became frightened when they entered the cloud. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my chosen son. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. They fell silent and did not at that time tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad everyone was able to make it out of bed at a reasonable hour today. I know it was a struggle for some of us, myself included. Just before today's gospel, our Lord told his disciples that he was going to have to suffer. There was no way around this. Maybe it wasn't losing an hour of sleep, but he couldn't avoid the suffering. And the disciples' response was one of confusion, scandal even. How could the Lord of heaven and earth, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, suffer and die? This was not news that they were prepared to hear. For days after this initial announcement, the apostles were all weighed down with grief at knowing what was to come. And yet, in the midst of all this grief, this pain, this suffering, we have the transfiguration of our Lord. This event was like a drop of honey, of sweetness, of joy for the apostles. It was a look forward of what's to come after the pain, after the suffering, after the scandal of the cross. This was such an important event for Peter and for the rest of the apostles that they remembered the exact words years after the event. Remembering the words the Father spoke about Christ. "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." All the while, Christ shone bright in his glory. It's this sweetness in the midst of suffering that draws our attention, because Christ always behaves in the same way towards his own, towards you and I. In the midst of the greatest of sufferings, he gives us the consolation we need to keep moving forward. And our Lord gives us this consolation in a myriad of ways, but chiefly through prayer. He is the divine physician, the doctor of doctors, the medicine for our souls. And unlike the doctor who stays in the hospital waiting for patients to come, our Lord goes to the ends of the earth in search of the lost sheep, the wounded sheep, the tired sheep, the suffering sheep. He goes to the ends of the earth, leaving the 99 to find the one. And yet, even with all this work and effort on his part, all this searching, he does not violate our own free will. The divine physician comes right up to our doors and knocks, but there he waits. There's a famous painting with many variations in circulation that I'm sure you've seen. It's an image of Christ knocking on a wooden door. And what's striking about this and what's so important about this image is not that Christ is there, believe it or not. It's that there is no handle on that door. So that even if Christ wanted to get in, he couldn't. The only way that that door opens is the person on the inside unlocks it and turns the handle and opens that door. It's on us, my brothers and sisters, to open that door. Even the slightest bit is enough for him to enter, filled with his glory, shining bright. Even a crack. On the other side of that door awaits the Lord of heaven and earth, the King of kings, Jesus Christ. And he wants nothing more than to be with you, even amidst suffering and pain. But what does that opening of the door look like? It will undoubtedly look different for each of us. For some of us, it'll be just a simple opening of the door. Others, it'll be long nights of prayer and crying out to God. Others, it'll be simple prayers a couple of times a day. Other times, it'll be weeping in front of him in adoration and silence. But it's through prayer that we come to him. For Peter, he thought that opening the door looked like climbing a mountain and building 3 tents. Peter's often wrong in the Gospels, so we don't really have to follow that example too closely there. But it's much simpler than that. To unlock and to open that door, all we need to do is pray. There's an image I'm reminded of on the Sistine Chapel by Michelangelo, the creation image, where God is looking down on humanity, outstretched as far as he can. And Adam's on the other side, just kind of like, I could, just the tiniest bit of effort, just extend that finger and he would be touching God. Just that tiny bit of effort is all it takes. And we'll have made contact with the divine. But again, it's going to look different for each of us. Opening that door for some of us is going to be the easiest, most natural thing in the world. And for others of us, it's going to be the most difficult, most challenging struggle of our lives. And yet still, Christ is knocking. There are a couple of ways we can really enter into that dialogue with God. These are just some examples off the top of my head that I had written down. Spending time before or after Mass in silent contemplation with our Lord. Even if Mass isn't going on, as long as that red lamp there is lit, Christ is in the tabernacle. He's there present throughout the day, 24/7. He knocks on our door, on the door of our heart, the door of our soul. So once in a while, maybe before Mass, after Mass, we can come knock on his door, wake him up from his nap or something. We can even talk to him at various times throughout the day and really just inviting him into our lives and our suffering. The long nights with crying babies or sick children, the difficult, stressful days at work, or even the grief of losing a loved one. My brothers and sisters, the divine physician is knocking at your door. Unlock it, open it, invite him in, talk to him. The joy and consolation of the resurrection awaits us.